Jeff, I count seven. How many for a quorum this morning?
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I see 9. I know Nelson's going to be a minute or two late, and Jamie is not going to be here. So we can start
Okay.
whenever you're ready, Michael.
Let's do it then. Good morning, everyone. We'll now take a moment to allow our interpreters to introduce themselves.
There's no interpreters today.
Okay. Then thank you for joining the Boston Zoning Commission public hearing. The open public meeting law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made. Do we have our recorder having started already?
Yes.
Okay. I'll now take a roll call of the members present at the beginning of the meeting. The roll call will identify each member as being present. Ms. Hatton.
Present.
Ms. Morikawa.
Present.
Ms. Miller.
Present.
Mr. DeMella.
Present.
Mr. Marr. Mr. Leff.
Present.
Mr. Arroyo. Mr. Woods.
Present.
Mr. Ostrich.
Present.
And I'm Michael Nichols, and I'm present. This is our 9 a.m. public hearing, the public hearing before the Boston Zoning Commission to consider petitions for the Second Amendment to the amended and restated Master Plan for Planned Development Area number 51 in Hood Park of Charlestown. The development plan for 15 Supertest Street within PDA area number 51, and also the development plan for 25 Supertest Street within PDA area number 51. The hearing was duly advertised on December 17, 2025 in the Boston Herald. In a Boston Zoning Commission hearing on proposed petitions, the proponent will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the commission only. After commissioners are done with questioning, we will be taking support and opposition testimony from the public at the same time. When I call for all testimony, please click the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to staff that you wish to speak. Staff will announce your name and allow you to unmute. Your microphone will be active, however, your webcam will not. If you are calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. In an effort to accommodate all who wish to speak about each proposal, you will be limited to 2 minutes per comment. Commission staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so the hearing may continue and others may be heard. At the end of public testimony, the proponents are allowed a period of rebuttal if they so desire. Will the planning department please begin our 9 a.m. presentation?
Thank you. And good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Zoning Commission. And my name is Dylan Norris, and I'm a project manager in the Development Review Division of the Planning Department. And we are here before you to discuss the proposed Second Amendment to the amended and restated Master Plan for Planned Development Area number 51, Hood Park, as well as the associated PDA development plans for 25 Supertest, as well as 15 Supertest. Just as a reminder for folks, Hood Park, or PDA number 51, consists of a 20-acre site located between New Rutherford Avenue and the Interstate Route 93 highway in Charlestown. Hood Park is subject to an existing master plan for planned development area number 51 and is currently occupied by approximately 1,065,000 square feet of existing or permitted structure. The proposed second master plan amendment contemplates increasing the 15 Supertest Street project from the originally approved 12,000 square foot retail structure to an approximately 49,000 square foot structure, including a 24,000 square foot grocery store and approximately 32 units of residential rental housing. The amendment also proposes to increase the gross floor area of the 25 Supertest project from the previously approved 128,000 square feet to a GFA of 224,400 feet. as well as adding multifamily residential housing as an allowed use to the hotel previously described in the master plan. These changes will result in a change in the master plan FAR from a value of 2, as originally proposed, to 2.2. The 15 Supertest Street Development Plan and associated Article 80E filing proposed the construction of a 3-story, approximately 49,000 square foot building, which will not exceed a height of 57 feet, with an additional 24,000 square feet of ground floor retail space fronting New Rutherford and Supertest Street. Additionally, on the upper 2 floors of this building, there will be 32 residential units, primarily for income-restricted housing, with an additional 6 market rate units. There is also an underground parking facility that will be shared with the future 25 Supertest Street project. The 25 Supertest Street development plan proposes the construction of an 18-story building with a maximum height of 235 feet. The gross floor area will be approximately 224,000 square feet for hotel, residential, and accessory uses, with approximately 150 subgrade parking spaces in a shared facility with 15 Supertest. On June 23rd, 2025, the proponent filed 2 letters of intent with the planning department for 15 Supertest as well development plan, as well as the 25 Supertest development plan. The master plan amendment, the 25 Supertest plan development area development plan, and the 15 Supertest Street Plan Development Area Development Plan and the 15 Supertest Small Project Review Application were filed with the Boston Planning Department on June 27th, 2025, which initiated a public comment period, which concluded on August 21st, 2025. The Planning Department hosted 3 impact advisory group meetings on July 29th, September 15th, and December 1st, as well as 3 public meetings on August 7th, September 16th, and December 1st of 2025. These meetings were virtually held on Zoom, advertised in local newspapers, and posted to the Planning Department's calendar, as well as email notifications were sent out to the subscribers of the Planning Department's Charlestown Neighborhood Update. The second amendment to the amended and restated master plan and development plans for 15 Supertest and 25 Supertest were then brought before the BPDA board for a public hearing, where it was approved on December 11th, 2025. At this point, I would like to hand it off to my colleague, Michelle Yee, to present the planning context for the project, followed by a presentation from the development team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dylan. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Michelle Lee, and I am the planning review team planner assigned to this project. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. The master plan area is located in the Charlestown Neighborhood Zoning District in a mixed use or MU1 zoning subdistrict. It is also subject to 2 zoning overlays, the Coastal Flood Resilience Overlay District or CFROD and the Planned Development Area or PDA number 51 Hood Park. The sites of these proposed projects at 15 and 25 Supertest Street are currently used as surface parking lots. Next slide, please. The master plan area also falls within the study area plan Charlestown, which was approved by the BPDA board in September 2023 and codified into zoning in October 2023. Plan Charlestown was an analysis of neighborhood needs and included recommendations to improve access to service, new zoning for the existing industrial parts of the neighborhood, and urban design guidelines to govern future development. While PDA number 51 was last amended in 2020 before the release of Plan Charlestown, the proposed amendment to the master plan aligns with the updated zoning parameters for use, dimensional, and density requirements. The plan also highlighted a need for mixed income housing of active ground floor uses with a priority for commercial spaces that include grocery stores, pharmacies, and food and beverage establishments, which the proposed projects will bring. Additionally, the proposed project will create Hood Green, an open space that will be no less than 1 contiguous acre that was envisioned in the master plan PDA and was reinforced in Plan Charlestown. The planned public realm and streetscape improvements on Rutherford Avenue and Supertest Street will also accommodate the city's redesign of Rutherford Avenue project. Additionally, the proposed project will build a segment of the landscape bike and pedestrian multi-use path that was also envisioned in the master plan PDA that is a key component of the Charlestown Green Loop that was proposed in Plan Charlestown. Together, these elements would create a safer, more welcoming pedestrian and cycling experience around the master plan area. Thank you, and now I'll turn it over to the development team to present the project in more detail.
Good morning. My name is Mark Rosenshine with Trademark Partners representing Hood Park. I'm joined today by David Manfredi and Jordan Mercurio with Elkis Manfredi, our architects, and Paula Devereaux with Pierce Atwood, our permitting attorney. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Next slide, please. So as has been mentioned, Hood Park is 20 acres. You guys are familiar with it. We've been in front of you a few times in terms of the master plan and as we've advanced the project here. Candidly, I think it's been a very successful process in Charlestown, and I know the community's been very supportive of the work that we have tried to advance at the Hood campus. You see it here outlined in red. It's on the western side of Rutherford Avenue, between Rutherford Avenue and the I-93 highway, which puts it sort of outside of the core residential area of the Charlestown neighborhood, and is really an ideal location for this sort of larger scale mixed use development, which is consistent with the planned Charlestown. Next slide, please. Here you can see that, as was already mentioned, Hood Park's master plan predated the planned Charlestown process, but is completely consistent with what was provided as the baseline and the tenant and the requirements for planned Charlestown. This is an area meant for mixed use, density, residential, business, larger scale projects between the highway and Rutherford. And so, as mentioned, this project, as proposed, is completely consistent with the planned Charlestown requirements, including, as noted, one of our sort of priorities here and sort of the good news for Charlestown. They've desperately been looking for another grocery store, and we have a grocery store as part of this project, which should provide a real new resource, particularly at this northern end of town, where all the other services tend to be at the other end of Charlestown. Next slide, please. This is the diagram that represents the PDA master plan. The projects that are on the left-hand side have been completed or in construction, including the addition on the garage, which we're working on now. Next slide, please. The work that we're doing today is really jumping to the right side of the screen, and it's what we refer to as the north block. It occurs between Supertest Street, which is the street on the right side of that colored area. 25 Supertest is the taller building, which is the mixed-use hotel and residential. And then 15 Supertest is the grocer and affordable housing that fronts on Rutherford Avenue, with the 1 acre of Hood Green between them. It's the reason we're bringing the two projects together. They both need to have the appropriate context to Hood Green and work together to really make this block contextually work and make sure that the programming and activation fit together. And so it made sense to bring both buildings and Hood Green as a package so that you could see the entire plan for what we're looking for at the north end of campus. Next slide, please. In terms of projects, next slide. Dylan has mentioned, but I'll run through quickly. 15 Supertest increases from what was a 12,000 square foot, 1-story sort of retail liner building into a 49,000 square foot, 3-story grocer on the first floor with affordable housing units up to 32 on the second and third. It will finish the street wall and really complement what's happening on the side of Rutherford Avenue. We're adding the grocer as a use, which was not originally contemplated, residential and parking. And changing the height from the lower height to 42 feet, 57 to the top of the mechanical to accommodate that additional residential component on top of the grocer. 25 Supertest was 128,000 square feet of exclusively hotel. We are expanding that building up to 224,000 square feet and adding residential. So we're actually decreasing from 128 to about 100,000 square feet, the hotel component in that project, and adding a little more than 100,000 square feet of residential. That residential will be rental market rate and generates, as part of the zoning requirement, 20% requirement for affordable. And so in this case, what we're doing is technically an offsite, even though it's all on the same campus. It's not in 25 Supertest. The residential units that are going on top of 15 Supertest are the 20% of the usable square foot, accounting for the affordable housing generated by 25. It's the other reason that these two projects need to go together. 25 is the requirement that creates the affordable housing. What we're trying to accomplish here is both creating the affordable housing sooner, because we're going to build 15 Supertest right away. The hotel will take a little longer to develop, and so we're advancing that at our risk to bring the affordable housing sooner. And by putting it on top of the grocer, we think it makes a really dynamic program there, where we have housing and grocer and really manage that upfront and hopefully get into construction this year on that effort. The rest of the metrics, as I mentioned, we're changing the height because we're adding some more density to 25 Supertest. That increase both at the 15 Supertest building and at the 25 Supertest moves us from an FAR just below 2 to an FAR of 2.2. Planned Charlestown contemplated an FAR of 3, so we are still well under the density of maximum numbers that were proposed in Planned Charlestown for this part of town. Next slide, please. Mitigation modifications, as part of the overall PDA approval that you guys granted in 2019, we have a mitigation package of $2.5 million for this development. That has been reconfirmed as being consistent. The change there is we've now made it so that it is prorated per building, so that as projects come online, that mitigation comes in rather than waiting for the 10 stack building, which is the very large lab office building. As you know, lab office is a little slower. That one will take longer. And so this way it brings some mitigation to Charlestown sooner based on the development of these two smaller projects. We've also agreed to a CPI inflation increase going forward. So that 2.5 million will grow over time. The longer it takes us to build the project, the more money that will be made available into the Charlestown community. And we have agreed to advance some of that money on the 15 super test project to address some very specific education program needs at the Horace Mann School and some other things that the Charlestown community has identified are urgently required, and we'll get that taken care of this spring. All other mitigation requirements from the original PDA are in force and have not changed. Next slide, please. Just a few things, and then I'll let the architects go. The grocer is really important. I live in Charlestown. Charlestown needs another grocer opportunity, and so that's one of the key metrics here, and one of the reasons we want to advance the project. 26 affordable units out of the 136 new total residential units, those 26 affordable units. One of the things we've been working on, we are hoping to do all 2, 3, 4 bedroom. For a couple of different reasons, we're not able to do that. We have a mix of studio 1, 2, 3, and 4, including a 3 and 4 bedroom, which are very rare and hard to achieve and needed in Charlestown. We acknowledge that the community needs as many 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms as possible. We've been working with Mayor's Office of Housing, BPDA Planning Department. We've spoken to Councilor Coletta. We will speak to the community, and there is language that has been included in the BPDA board memo that requires us to work together to figure out the maximum number of multi-bedroom family units that we can provide as part of this project. As you know, when you get right down to it, the detailing and the design of that is part of making that commitment, and we are committed to maximizing that amount of affordable family units. The rest are I have mentioned already, but I will just say the Hood Green as an open space commitment before, that 1 acre as an urban grove is something that communities really strive to have, and we will be bringing forward as part of a community design process over the next several months. Next slide. I'm going to let David Manfredi take over, walk you through the 2 different buildings, and then we'll wrap it up. David?
I'm David Manfredi from Elkus Manfredi Architects. I'm joined by Jordan Mercurio from my office as well. Next, please. I'll start with 15 super test, and we'll build it up from the below grade up to the residential that Mark just described. You can see the footprint of the building on Rutherford Avenue between Supertest and D Street. There is 1 level of parking below grade. It's accessed off of Supertest, and it provides 65 spaces, primarily for the grocery, but also to accommodate the residential. And that bottom right corner, you can see the core that brings you directly from the grocery parking up into the grocery store itself, both by escalator as well as by stair and elevator up to the grocery level. You can see the residential core is completely separate. That's the yellow core, and that brings you directly up to the 3rd floor of the building and 2 apartments. If you go to the next, please. So on the first floor of the building is primarily the grocery store. The grocery store, as Mark said, is 24,000 square feet. You can see where that core is on the bottom right. If you're a grocery guest, you can be walking here, obviously, from the neighborhood. You can be driving here and parking and coming up escalator and elevator and walking directly into the grocery store. You can see that we have a setback on Rutherford. We also have a change in elevation because Rutherford Avenue is at +16. Our floor is at +18 for resiliency reasons. That gives us an opportunity to build a front porch, a kind of terrace that will spill out of the grocery store, accommodate, as you can see, tables and chairs, and for the people who come to the grocery store, buy lunch and stay, or buy dinner and stay. You can see the residential lobby on Supertest, completely enclosed loading for the primarily for the grocery store, and the access to parking below. Next, please. And then very schematically, our residential floor plate, but the mix of units that Mark just described. And it also gives us the opportunity to set back floors 2 and 3, create some outdoor space on the shallow roof of the grocery store. You can also see our PV array on the roof of the grocery store, and an outdoor deck for the residents of the building. Go to the next. We have several exterior views from Rutherford Avenue. Again, 3-story building. Architecture very much inspired by the kind of mercantile buildings that you find around the city, and certainly in Charlestown, in terms of having a commercial base of a taller height with lots of visibility, and then 2 residential floors above. Buildings clad primarily in brick and stucco, and obviously a lot of visibility for that grocery store, as Mark described, being very important to the neighborhood. And you can see the terrace that's 2 feet above the adjacent street. You go to the next. This is a view looking down Supertest. You can see all the way to the left, access to into the residential lobby, and then the core brings you up directly into the 2 floors above grade. And we take the architecture really all the way around all 4 sides of the building consistently, because of the visibility that you'll get to all 4 sides, given the hood green that's coming in the future. Next. The landscape really is the opportunity to create this terrace. I think you might wonder, a terrace on Rutherford Avenue today, but you look to the future and it's a different Rutherford Avenue, and the opportunity to put people out there and activate that corner, and then really redevelop Supertest Street and how it will meet future Rutherford Avenue. And you can see on the right side, on the north side of the building, the future green loop that will be the multi-use path that runs along D Street and connects to Rutherford Avenue and crosses Rutherford Avenue. Go to the next, please. We'll move to 25 Supertest, which is the building to the west across Hood Green. You can go to the next slide, please. And you can see the building I just described in the lower right. Hood Green, which is still very much in design, but a full acre of publicly accessible open space. And then the building that Mark described. And now this has become truly a mixed-use building, with hotel and residential on the ground floor, kind of sharing the ground floor, then a hotel on the lower floors, and residential above. Well, I'll take you around the building, but I want to just point out in this drawing, we really want to make a connection between the hotel and Hood Green. Let the hotel activity, and you'll see this food and beverage on the ground floor, spill out into Hood Green. And we'll get some really marvelous views from the building and to the building because of this publicly accessible space. If you go to the next, please. So when phase 2, the hotel and residential building comes, the parking on the lowest level connects then to the parking that will have built under the grocery store and residential. We'll use the same ramp. If you're going to the grocery store, you'll come down the ramp and turn right. If you're a resident or a hotel guest, you'll come down the ramp and turn left, and you'll have access to building core on the west side of the building, all the way up on Stack. And you can see basically it'll feel like one continuous level of parking. Go to the next. So just wanted to quickly show you the ground floor of the mixed-use hotel residential building, because we think it's really important to activate this ground floor. You can see that basically 60%, the 60% to the south, is all active spaces. There's the residential lobby on the southwest corner. There's the hotel lobby in the middle on the west side of the building. On all 3 sides, there is activity. The idea being that there's food and beverage on the ground floor. It's shared between those 2 users. We want to activate Hood Green. We want to make all of this a destination, not just for the residents and the guests in the hotel, but for the neighborhood as well. And as part of a bigger idea about how all of Hood Park evolves over time in terms of having the amenities that come with retail and restaurants. And then the north side of the building is a little bit more of our function and utilities to the building. Our loading docks, again, completely enclosed. And you can see that eventually Stack Street is reconfigured once the building immediately west is redeveloped. Stack Street will be reconfigured, but all of these functions will remain constant. If you go to the next, it's just a typical hotel floor plan and very, very conceptual at this point in time. I'm sure it will evolve into a mix of the different kinds of hotel accommodations and to the unit, the guest room counts that Mark described. If you go to the next, there's a residential floor, and you can see the mix of units here. Again, there will be some really wonderful views from this building, both north and specifically south towards Boston and the north end and Government Center. There's really a great view corridor here. If you go to the next.
Thanks,
Mark?
David. Yeah. Very quickly, just 2 more minutes. Next slide, please. We wanted to touch on Hood Green. As David mentioned, this is very much a canvas to be created between our organization, the city, and the community. There's been some planning study, and as was mentioned earlier, the Charlestown Green Loop is something that came as part of Plan Charlestown and really wants to create a corridor around the city, around Charlestown as a neighborhood for bikes and pedestrians. It aligns with and slides past Hood Green, and so we have the honor of being the first ones to create the first piece of that green loop and that open space. Next slide, please. Hood Green is really an important orientation point for campus. The Sullivan Square is in the upper left-hand corner, so a lot of pedestrian and bicycle traffic comes off the orange line, comes across this part of campus to get to the rest of our both residential and commercial uses. Offshoots has looked at it. The sun orientation is to the bottom of the page because that's south. And the wind orientation, which is really important in this time of year, comes from the upper left. And so we've really looked at some topography and some grading here to both manage the wind, provide shade, and really create a great open space for the community that will be activated both by folks on our campus. Along the top edge of it, as David mentioned already, D Street is where that multi-use path runs from Rutherford all the way to the west and then turns and makes the corner to loop around Charlestown. And so this is really a dynamic open space opportunity at Hood Park and for Charlestown as a community. Next slide. Very, very quickly, some imagery that we've been starting to talk to the community about with topography. There is a dire lack of trees right today, or if you remember, Hood Park was originally a parking lot around an industrial building, no trees. And so getting a really good urban forest, trying to create some canopy and tree species here that will both accomplish some things for clean air, provide a nice green space, and really provide some dynamic open spaces. The intent, we have in Charlestown fields across the way at Ryan Playground for soccer and football. And so this is really meant to be a little bit more of a community program space. Next slide. We are finally looking at the resiliency process here. All of campus is low. Rutherford Avenue is down at elevation 16, and the water sort of comes around the Schrafft's building and floods through campus. As we have moved forward, we have gradually been raising campus. We're able to do that because the original buildings were built at train height, so everything's high. Everything that's in tan on the right side of the page has been raised up and built at that new resiliency level of elevation 20. On the right-hand side of the diagram, Hood Green will be up at elevation 20. The hotel and resi building will be at 20.5. We'll only be able to get up to elevation 18 for the grocer at 15 because we really have to transition from 16 feet up to 20. And obviously a 4-foot grade change in front of a grocery store doesn't really work. So it's a step, but as part of this process, we are meeting the obligations and really trying to create a resilient opportunity. And as David mentioned, that building in 570 Rutherford in the upper right corner exists today. We need to keep the grading low around it. But once that goes away and that gets redeveloped, the rest of campus can be brought up in that corner and we'll meet the commitment to raise all 20 acres to a resilient flood elevation. Next slide. That is our presentation. Thank you for your time, and obviously we'll be available for questions and comments.
Great, thank you to the proponents. We will begin by questions and comments from members of the commission, though I will note for the record that Commissioner Arroyo joined quite early in that presentation, and Commissioner Marr joined during the presentation as well. So we have those members joining and voting with us this morning. I would start by asking the proponents a little bit about the FAR being under the maximum allowable. It seems, I think I'm delighted that sort of both of the projects proposed today are making better use of the space on site, adding space and units, adding the grocery store component and the affordable housing. What limits you at this time, be it financing or other interest, keeps you from growing the number of units on or use of space on the sites?
Yeah, so Hood Park has a bit of a challenge, and if you're familiar with it, there's the existing old building is here, which we want to keep. It's a very low, right? I mean, it was an industrial building. It's like a story and a half. And so the problem is when you leave that building as this big chunk in the middle, it's almost physically impossible to build enough density around it to get up to that 3.0 FAR while staying within the context of the height limits that the community of Charlestown set. And those are pretty high, right? It's 250 feet along the highway. We're taking advantage of that. But because the existing building is such a low rise thing, it's almost mathematically impossible to get to a 3.0. As you saw, we're increasing substantially the FAR associated with 2,500,000 square feet more of residential, which takes us right up to the maximum height allowed at that location. And similarly, adding those 2 stories of residential on top of 15, right up against Rutherford, there's a much lower threshold of height. It's only allowed to be 75. We're at 57, and quite frankly, there's a density problem with trying to stuff more units on top of a grocery store, needing parking and loading at that sort of corner. So, and then last but not least, we've committed to that 1 acre of Hood Green. I think that's incredibly important. And so love the idea of being supported in increasing the FAR and the density. And trust me, we're trying to do as much as we can within the context of an existing campus with a large 1.5-story, 2-story industrial building that we want to preserve.
Thank you. Questions from other members of the commission?
I was just going to ask, Mark, maybe if you could just lay out the timetable a little bit more, the phasing and the particularly the construction of the garage underneath the green, just how sequentially and your time expectations.
Absolutely. So first priority is 15 super test. We need to get our zoning done because we can't sign a legal document with the grocer until we're legally allowed to do it. So this is an important step to get that grocer signed up. Our goal is to get 15 super tests into construction this fall. With 15 super tests, we build the garage under 15, we build the grocery, we build the residential. That will get open in late 2027. That's priority number 1 to get that open. We will be advancing the design portion. So we've completed our Article 80 on 15. We have to do the design portion on 25, which we're going to do this spring. We'll be finishing that up. Important piece of news happened on the 31st, right? The Crafts have come to an agreement with Boston on the soccer stadium, which is about a 1/4 mile from here. As you can imagine, the hotel is a great project at Hood. It's a home run when you have a soccer stadium walking distance from Hood Green in that location. So our goal will be to get into the design of that after the permitting process and finish design up this year on the hotel project. And then the way the sequence works, the parking garage for the hotel and under Hood Green obviously gets built and attached to 15. And the requirement in the BPDA board memo and our commitment here is that Hood Green the hotel and resi building cannot open without Hood Green. They have to be concurrent. We can't do the hotel and leave Hood Green for another day, including the multi-use path and the pedestrian. So now that the stadium seems a little more likely, right? It's not done, nothing's done until it's done, but that was a big step to get those relationships with the city and Everett locked down. I think we will pursue that and over the course of the next year, get the design. And then I would love to think that if the stadium were opening in 2028, 2029, the hotel and 25 super tests, which means Hood Green as well, would open like 6 days before the stadium.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move forward with public testimony. Don't believe we have anyone representing a elected official at this time. So are there any members of the public who are interested in offering public testimony?
There seems to be no raised hands.
Okay. And we'll close out public testimony and move into our business session. Any other comments, questions, or motions from members of the commission?
I would just note that I think the ELCAS presentation was very helpful, and I think that the outdoor space at the grocer is complementary to what I see at the Hood Park Drive area, where you have some restaurants with outdoor space, and so you've already started to enliven the area. I think that this is a good way to bring that to this side of the campus. So I thought that was something that I hadn't really picked up on in the presentation, so I appreciated that in the materials.
I would just
Commissioner
highlight too, on the park standpoint, when you get to that point of developing Hood Green more and going through design, just try to get some community feedback. The Charlestown, as the former Parks Commissioner, the Charlestown neighborhood is very vocal on their parks and their needs. And despite there being parks just over the Washington Street Bridge to Charlestown, to the north end, they had no interest in traveling there. So making sure you have a lot of feedback to create a space that will be well utilized by the Charlestown neighbors.
Absolutely. I've been a resident of Charlestown for 25 years. I'm aware of Charlestown's opinion of how important open space is. We have committed
Great.
to do a great community process.
And as a relatively recent transplant into Charlestown, I think Commissioner Woods is spot on. So
I would, Mr. Chair, make a motion that we approve the Second Amendment to the amended and restated master plan for Plan Development Area Number 51 Hood Park, Charlestown, the development plan for 15 Supertest Street within Plan Development Area Number 51 Hood Park, and the development plan for 25 Supertest Street within Plan Development Area Number 51 Hood Park.
I second Aisha Miller.
got a motion and a second by Commissioner Miller. We'll move forward with a roll call vote. Ms. Hatton,
Yes.
Ms. Morikawa,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. DeMello,
Yes.
Mr. Marr,
Yes.
Mr. Leff,
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo.
Can you hear me?
We did hear you, Mr. Marr. Mr. Leff,
Yes.
Mr. Arroyo,
Yes.
Mr. McNeil, Mr. Ostrich,
Yes, and well done.
and the chair votes yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much to the proponents and the planning department team working on this project.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That is our only agenda item for this morning. Anything, Jeff, Tara, administratively for the commission this morning?
Jeff, I just want to say, Jeff, I didn't get to vote, so just yes, so you have it on record as well.
Sorry about that, Ryan.
Oh, all good. Just want to make sure.
It wasn't on my sheet. And Mr. Woods, thank you for that. That is important for the record. Jeff, Tara, anything else for this morning?
Nothing today. Potential for one hearing next month, which is scheduled for February 11th. It will be an amendment to a PDA over in Southie, but that needs to be approved by the BPDA board first. So that is next week. But that's the only thing coming down the pike right now.
Very good. Happy New Year, everyone. We will potentially see you in February.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Take care.
Happy New Year.